Well. How are you all doing today? How are you all doing this amazing spring-like day, I should say? It is an honor to be here. It is an honor to be graced by your presence, and mostly, as I say, wherever I'm fortunate to deliver a message, to speak. I always say it is a honor, a blessing for you to allow me to invade your space. I do not take that lightly. And wherever I go, whenever I make that comment, I can tell that there are some who wonder, what does he mean invading my space? You're here in this particular forum or in this particular setting, and you've been invited here, and I've been invited here. So how is it that you, Coach Kai, are invading my space? Well, let me kind of expound on that. When I say invading a person's space, what I simply am implying is you are allowing someone, no matter who that someone is, to enter into your spectrum of knowledge, understanding, or lack thereof. And you are allowing them, or allowing an individual like me, to invade that sphere of thinking, that sphere of doing, that sphere of learning, that sphere of educating, or just simply a sphere of physically allowing me to get in your space. I've told this story before. Let's be real, I think most of us, we don't like, and I've had this to happen, and look, if this is you, sorry, if I have to, use you as an example, but one thing I can't stand is when individuals who, every time they talk to you, they get closer and closer. There was a guy years ago, and I don't know, he wasn't doing it on purpose, at least I don't think, but every time he would talk to you, he would get closer and closer. So over time, I started moving further and further back. Any and every time he would approach me, it was crazy. It was like he would get so much involved into his own conversation or what he was saying. It was like he wanted to get inside of you so you could fully understand and grasp what he was saying. And man, that was so aggravating. And so I found myself, being around this particular individual, years ago. I started moving back subtly. I mean, I don't know if he ever noticed it, but it was so funny because even though I kind of systematically started to move away because I knew he was starting to move in closer, it's like we matched each other step for step. I'm so serious. And whether he was doing it consciously or subconsciously, I was doing it consciously because I did not want this individual in close proximity to my parameters, the space that I like to have for myself. So, but anyway, I tell that story because it was aggravating, But the whole premise of this is, I did not have to allow him to invade my space, not just with his subtle approaches that was a little too close for comfort, but just allowing him to even have dialogue with me, because that's my mind space. If that makes sense. I decide who I want to let into my sphere of thinking, who I want to let in to teach me something, who I want to let in to show me something. I have to allow that. You all have to allow that, whether you've been invited to an event or not. So I hope I've kind of clarified that in a manner that is more comprehensive, more understanding now. So again, let me go back to my initial greeting. I am just so fortunate, and I am honored and blessed that you all would allow me to invade your space. We at this community center, which is become a pillar in the community for a number of reasons. There's development all around this community center. You can't help but see it. Homes are being, literally put up in weeks. Communities are just being added to this already established community. So this center, this community center, which is pretty high tech, has become a stomping place, a stomping grounds for those who want to present certain programs, those who are in the wellness field, for sports. I know there's a couple of courts at this facility. Even behind the facility, there's a school. So, having this facility here is more than an opportunity. It's a privilege. And so for me, it is a privilege to be here. And to have this dialogue with you all, why I'm just so blessed and fortunate that are in the audience, listening and receiving what I am about to deliver. I thank the creators of this event. I thank those individuals that have put their intellect, their knowledge, their experience, their expertise into this event in a way that we all are being fed. And so for all the creators, the organizers of this event, I am just so grateful that you are doing a good work in this community. And in the process of growing this community, you invited little old me. So I am just so honored again. But I want to go right into why we all are here. As I look out into this audience, oh my goodness, to see just such diversity, old, young, black, white, Latino, Asian. If I missed your race, your culture, please charge it to my head and not my heart. But I'm so big on diversity. I'm so big on seeing so many individuals under one roof, getting along, growing along one another, and just being able to have fellowship. Though we have our differences, of course, we can come to one common thread as it pertains to gaining truth. So today, in lieu of this event, I want to just come to you all today. First of all, let me say that I am Coach Kai. I have a few organizations, two in particular, my For Wandering Kings organization program, and also my Four Corner Athletics program. So in case some of you all, and I'm sorry, I almost went right into our message without formally introducing myself and telling you all a little bit about me. Those are two of my organizations that I've been fortunate, blessed to not only be the founder of, but to also be the director and the CEO of. So, for your event planners who actually found me or heard of me by referral, I thank you all for it. But I am a coach, and so when you hear me talk about, my Four Corner Athletics, I am a coach. I've coached many a years. I've run my own Four Corner Athletics business program for almost 20 years now. It started back in Atlanta, which is where I hail from, which I am from, and I, of course, take my program wherever I go. Well, my For Wandering Kings program initiative is an outreach program / ministry or organization, and what we do is we literally go and we try to grab as many kings who are unaware that they are kings as possible. Even in this audience, so many wandering kings, I truly believe. And then there are so many established kings. So we take them all, established kings, wandering kings, uncertain or unsure kings. We take them all, old, young, seasoned. I always say seasoned because that gives a better depiction of that salt and pepper look. Men, you all know what I'm talking about. So I do want to just give both of my programs. I do want to give them a salute, because it is not I myself that I'm able to do the things I'm able to do with these two organizations. It literally takes a team, and I am grateful for my team members that are seen, team members that are not seen. I thank God for both of them, and hopefully after this message, I'll get a chance to engage with you all if you choose to engage and find out more about my program. I always try to keep literature breaking down the program. I try to make sure that I have what I need to equip you so you can do your own research, about what we do, what I do, and hopefully what we will continue to do as we all press forward. So that being said, to the event planners, they of course know me, and when I say know me, I don't say that in an arrogant manner. I say they know me because they know what I'm about, and I'm about foundational pieces. I'm about foundational truths. I'm about the foundation that if we all are standing on the rock of a foundation, then you're on stable ground. So I may ruffle some feathers. With some, that's not my intent, but sometimes it is my intent, because ruffling feathers a lot of the times will get rid of the old, crusty, weighty feathers that need to be removed anyway. So when we ruffle feathers, if you've seen birds flying, and sometimes you'll walk outside and you'll see feathers on the ground, okay, that's been a ruffling of feathers. Dead feathers are falling off sometimes in fights. Feathers actually come unjarred. So yes, in this delivery message, there may be some feathers ruffled, but hopefully out of love, you will realize it is not to demean, it is not to tear down, but it is just to present the truth. For as that old adage, goes, the truth, it may hurt. That truth will hurt in an effort to set us free if we receive that truth. So without further ado, I want to go into our message for today that I have thought long and hard about, knowing that I was going to be here to deliver this message. And the message I come bearing today is a message that involves the number zero. The number zero. I know there's some college students in the audience who are probably mathematicians. Let me kind of clarify, I am not a mathematician. I am not, I'm not that versed in math. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, I know how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, add, subtract. But what I'm simply saying is I am not a mathematician. I worked in the public school sector for years, and sometimes I would fill in, and, to help out with our staff and teach math classes. And I will say, though I am not a mathematician, and though I am not too fond of math, believe it or not, I actually love math from this particular standpoint, and I'll tell you what I mean. I love math. And also hate math because of this one thing. I love math because math tells the truth. It does not lie. And on the other side, I hate math because it tells the truth and does not lie. In other words, there are no gray areas when it comes to math. There are none. You can work an equation, and if you miss out on something in the first step of that equation, it throws everything off because you can't lie in math. Math does not lie. Numbers do not lie. So from that perspective, I love math. I do, because math doesn't lie. But I also hate math because math does not lie. Yes, I know that's kind of a paradox, and that it will be even while we continue with this speech. But I come to speak to you all today about the number zero. The number zero. And so I'm going to pose this question to you all before we go deep into this. What is your value? What is your value? I know there are some mathematicians, like I said, in here, whether you're in college or not. I'm sorry, I just equated mathematicians being related to those who may currently be in college. No, I'm sorry. There are some seasoned individuals that are mathematicians. There are individuals in this audience that probably never went to college, but you're still a mathematician. Mathematician simply means that you're gifted with numbers. So pardon me for not clarifying that. But I'll go back to the question again. What is your value, ladies and gentlemen? Or what is your worth? What is your importance? What is your usefulness? What are you placing yourself next to? Some of you all who are mathematicians, you probably already see where I'm going with this. You hear the play on words. I'll go through those again because I started off saying I'm going to talk to you all today about the number zero. Let that sink in for a minute, especially to you mathematicians in here. Old, young, rich, poor. You're a mathematician nonetheless, meaning you have an innate ability to comprehend numbers. So I'll go into this again because it's a mystery to some as I go down this litany of what your value is and how I express, what is your worth, your importance, what is your placement. Some of you all will grasp this right away. So I'll go into it again. What is your value? Or what is your worth? What is your importance? What is your usefulness? And what are you placing yourself next to? You see, I'm a firm believer, and I'm sure many of you all are as well, that everyone has a value. Every last person in here. Everyone has a worth of importance, a usefulness. Every last person in here. I know we live in a society now that wants to kind of displace some culture, some individuals, to make them believe, and even make society believe that they are of no value. I totally disagree with that. Everyone is valuable. Everyone is worth something. Everyone is important and of importance. And everyone is usefulness. God made every last vessel in this audience. Every last one of us. So therefore, we all hold value. But I have to ask, and since we're talking about value, how do you see your zero? Let me ask that again, for once has it been spoken, twice told that it may be heard. How do you see your zero? Oh, I'm sorry, or your value. How do you see your value? How do you see the number zero? Because how you see that number zero, or how you see your value, depends on how you place and use your zero. Place and use your value. Think on that. Do you see your zero or your value as the end of something? Do you see your zero, your value, as the beginning of something, the origin of something? How do you see your zero, your value? Do you see your zero, your value as a completion to something? Do you see your zero and your value as valueless, meaning of no value? Or do you see your zero or your value as valuable? So how do you see it? How do you see yourself? How have you placed yourself? For you mathematicians and those who just know numbers, I think everyone in this audience knows the zero. The amazing thing about the zero is that it has no meaning. It's a non-meaningful, quantifiable, empty entity. The zero. The zero. It can't be added to anything. It can't be subtracted from anything. It's zero. If I were to place 10 rocks on this podium right now, I just added 10 rocks. If I were to take away 5 of those rocks, I would have 5 left. But if I was to take away 0 of these rocks, I would have still 10 left. So 0 has no value. It has no value. It's meaningless. It's non-quantifiable. It's empty. So I ask again, how do you see your zero? How do you see and hold your value? I told you before that I am not a mathematician. I love math on one sense, as I expressed to you all, but I hated it on the other. But one thing I learned about math and decimal points and so forth, and I'm equating all of this with our value systems, our worth and so forth, is when you think about it, and let's kind of go deep into the educational component or definitive expression of the number 0, okay? Most of us know that the digits on the left side of the decimal point, okay? I would draw it, but as I've said before, when I'm presenting truth, I like to just deliver the truth. It's almost like wielding a sword. I just like to swing my sword. I like to swing my truth. But if you can use your imagination, okay, the digits on a number line. Remember, you have your positives and you have your negatives, okay? And guess what lies in the middle? Exactly, the 0 lies in the middle. So the digits on the left side of the decimal point hold more value than the digits on the right side. Think about that. Think about that. And I don't want you to get too, and I know I said number line. I probably should have just excluded the number line in this example, and I should just stick with decimal points. So let's go back to that again, okay? I'm going somewhere with this, ladies and gentlemen, okay? But if you have a decimal point, okay, you can put a decimal point in your mind, in your heads, in your imagination, and if you write a number to the left of that decimal point, you're going to have a whole number, I should say, that will have value. But if you write a number to the right of that decimal point, then you will have a whole number that has less value. Okay? So the decimal point, and depending on what is placed, what number is placed to the left of that decimal point, what number is placed to the right of that decimal point would determine how much value or more value is equated. Okay? Now, if you have a 0 on the left of the decimal point and a 0 on the right of the decimal point, guess what? You will still have no value. No value, because remember, 0 holds no value. None. And the reason for this, okay, is because the numbers, okay, the numbers on the right side actually don't hold as much value. And this is because the places on the left represent whole numbers, such as your ones, your tens, your hundreds, etc., etc. While the places on the right of the decimal point, okay, represent, if I'm not mistaken, like fractions, such as tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so forth and so on. I'm sure the mathematicians in the room will correct me if I'm in error. So again, for example, if we had right now, as I gave the example earlier, I'm going to do it again, but this time's in dollars and cents. If we were to write on the board right now $1.0, that would simply mean $1. Okay. Notice I said the $1.0, that would be $1. If we did 0.1, okay, 0.1, what would that be? Exactly. Now that's 1 cent. that's 1 cent. Okay. So we're working with a number that has more value on one side, but then we're working with a number that has less value on the other side of the decimal point. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm going somewhere with this. And I'm sorry, I said 0.1. I should have said 0.01 if we're talking about cents, okay? 1 cent, I'm sorry. But if we were to say like 0.1, that's like 0.10, which we know 0 comes thereafter, so that would be like 10 cents, okay? Again, it's all about the placement, okay? Pardon me for that error earlier. But I want you all to follow me in this. Okay, so the 0.01 that represents out of $1, that represents what? 1%, correct, because remember, again, it's on the right side of the decimal. Going somewhere with this, ladies and gentlemen. I know some of you all are like, I didn't come here to attend math class. Well, actually you did, because we're going somewhere and we're going to equate this with our own value system. But to the left side, okay, we have 1.0. What percentage of $1 is that? Correct, that's 100%, okay? So you see the definitive differences based on the placement. Based on the placement of not only the 0, but of also the whole numbers, depending on where they're placed to the right side or the left side of the decimal. Stay with me, because we're going somewhere, okay? Some would say that, the 0 has no value, and honestly, by itself, it does not. The 0 by itself does not have value. We just talked about that. Some people are saying that you by yourself don't have value. Ooh. Yeah, some of you all may be single mothers, and please do not think I am trying to humiliate or demean. No, if anything, I'm applauding you, single mothers. I was the byproduct of a single mother, okay, for years before she remarried. Some don't believe that you have value, single dads, and I have to throw that out there because I was a single dad for years, raising my daughter. I did not think that I had a lot of value, okay, because I was not next to a whole number or to another individual, if that makes sense. Now, make no mistake, I had a lot of help with the raising of my child, but my whole point is this. People want to measure our value based on the 0 that they see. But what they don't know is if that 0 is placed and positioned in the right proximity with a whole number, it can magnify you in ways that you never thought possible, thus making everyone aware that you do have value because of what you are next to. And I know I just made a couple of references to single moms, single dads, so forth, but let's just go another step further, okay? There are some who are struggling right now. You're just struggling in a number of areas, okay? Maybe you are married, maybe you have a family, you may have lost a job, your health may be declining. We can go on and on and on. You may have children that are just unfortunately, taking you through a whole lot. And this is taking its toll on you, okay? But I want you all to see that depending on what you're next to, you become more valuable. You become magnified. You actually amplify yourself depending on what you're next to. The 0, depending on where the 0 is next to, okay, in reference to a whole number, if it's in front of that whole number or behind that whole number, will determine the true value of that 0 as a placeholder, as a placement, okay? When we talk about the 0 and its lack of value, I'm reminded of how the 0 was not only not held in high esteem for thousands of years or hundreds of years. I'm reminded of the history, which some of you all may be familiar with, as the ancient Greeks, okay, they saw no value in the number 0. But on the other side of the spectrum, the other side of the globe, the Indians saw value in the number 0. You all can look this up and research it yourself, but I'm giving you parallels in reference to, for one culture, the 0 did not hold any significance, but for the other culture, the 0 held high value because it was all about the placement. It was all about how it was used. And the ancient, with the ancient Greeks, they used a lot of symbols, okay? And they had a lot of mythology and so forth, superstitions and so forth. And so when they were trying to figure out what can be used as a placement, okay? So if you had 101 sheep, okay, well, by them not using the number 0, they used symbols, 2 different symbols to represent 1 and 1. They had nothing to use for the middle or as a placement to signify this was 101 sheep, okay? One of the reasons they did not believe in the 0 was because it was related to or symbolic of voidness, being void. And so what that implied was, there was no God even, there was no deity. So we can't use that particular number because it's taboo. But now let's fast forward thousands of years later or centuries later, the Indians, okay, They saw the zero or the placement holder as something of value. That's kind of the way that some of you all in this audience, some of you all that are listening right now, that's how some of you all have been deemed. That's how some of you all have been viewed. One person, may not see any value in you, no usefulness for you. Remember what I gave you all earlier about the value of something, the usefulness of something, the worth of something. So on one side, you actually have certain people, personnel, companies, managers, supervisors, co-workers, loved ones, family members, friends. They see no value in you, none. And if we want to go down the racial line, let's be real, sometimes it's just based on the color of our skin, where another entity may see no value in us. But on the other side, with another individual, with another relationship, with another company, with other friends, with other family members, with other loved ones, they see you and they hold you in high esteem and value you highly. So it's about the placement. It's about the usage. It's about how people view that number zero, or how they view your value. How you view your value. For everyone has a place in society somewhere. Just like every zero has a place in the numbering system somewhere. Yes. There was a story to kind of put this in perspective, the importance of that placeholder of zero. I'm reminded of a particular story. Again, I worked in the public school sector for years, but I'm reminded of this story where there was a student who had taken a quiz. And the student took a quiz. It was a 10-part questionnaire quiz, and the student really felt confident about it. They had prepared for it, they studied for it, and so long story short, the teacher presented the quiz, and when the student got their quiz back, they saw that it had 0/10. Now, those of you who are familiar with receiving grades, or who have graded papers, or who have seen your own children's papers graded, if you see a 0/10, okay, a 0/10, what that simply means is you got no answers right. None. So out of 10 questions or questionnaires, you got 0 right. Remember what I said, 0 has no value by itself. And so the student was a little disgruntled. They didn't understand, like, what? No, I was confident. I did good in this. And so the student, the student decided to do their own investigation, and they did. So they went to their laptop and they started to type in some of the questions. And to their surprise, every question on that questionnaire that they answered was right. So why did they get a 0/10? And so the student politely, but also directly approached the teacher, posed the question to the teacher, said, I don't understand. Why did I get a 0/10 or 0/10 when I double checked? All the answers are right. And the teacher looked. The teacher kind of scrolled through the actual question. Yeah, you're right. And the teacher said, I am so sorry. The teacher said, I was in such a rush, I forgot to put a whole number 1 in front of the 0. Thus making it 10/10. And for those of you who are familiar with the grading system, that means you got 10 out of 10 right. That's 100%. So do you see how it went from 0/10 having no value, meaning null and void, inaccurate, empty, to a 1, a whole number placed to the left of that 0, thus making it a more valuable, or a valued number now, 10/10. That's the power of it. It's about, again, not only the placement, but what's next? What is next to the 0? What whole number is next to the 0? Primarily to the left of the 0. Not to the right, but to the left of the 0. It is contingent on if that 0 will now be magnified, will now be held valuable. Some of you right now are probably walking zeros because you're not next to a whole thing. You're not next to something that you can really showcase its value, thus showcasing your value, because you're not placed in the right position. If we can go to the good book, to the good text. The good text says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. Well, if I can add this equation based on what we are talking about, okay, and based on what I'm delivering unto your ears, okay, in the beginning there was a zero. Follow me. Until the one spoke. Let's go through that again. For once has it been spoken, twice told that it may be heard. So if we were to put that particular verse into a particular equation, this is what that equation would say. In the beginning, there was a zero until the one spoke. Remember, zero or your values bring value to a number or to a situation when it is used as a placeholder in the right place. Essentially meaning, zero adds value simply by defining the magnitude of the other digits within a number. Let me say that again. Zero, your value, adds value by defining the magnitude of other digits within a number or of other persons that you are around. Example of magnifying the zero, or how the placement number of zero is magnified. It's in the same how the placement of your values then magnify those situations that you decide to get involved with. I'll give you this example. If right now, if I wrote on the board 1 with a space in the middle and then 1, so I want you to follow me. So that's 1 with a space in the middle and then 1. Okay, now you can't say that's 101. No, if you look at it, it looks like an 11 but spaced with the 1 and the 1, spaced with the empty space in the middle. Okay, so if we really want to be technical, that's still 11. So we have a 1 with the space in the middle followed by another 1. When you bring your value, okay, you bring your zero to make it valuable, thus making the supporting cast around you valuable. You then put the 0 in the middle. So now you have 1, 0, 1. We've gone from 11 to now 101 because your value, your placement, your 0 has now been inserted. I hope you all are following this, because this is truth at its finest. At its finest, that many of you already possess, many of you will possess, and many of you will possess that of others, thus teaching others. Remember again, a 0 or a person of no value, represents an emptiness, an empty quantity. It's just that simple, and when you possess a 0 quality, a 0 value, because you have no value system, okay? That means nothing is quantified. Nothing is quantified in your life. Nothing is quantified in this numeric system, because it's all again about the placement. All again about the placement, ladies and gentlemen. I made reference to this earlier about the number line, and I had actually jumped the gun because I was not intending to use that example about the number line when I was trying to stick with the decimal point. But now I do want to go into this example of the number line and how that 0 is used, how your value is used, okay? On the number line, the 0, of course, if you all are familiar with the number line system, the 0 is dead center. It lies both between the positive and negative numbers, thus meaning the 0 is neither a positive or a negative number, because it's not necessarily a value in the 0 anyway, especially even on this number line. But there is a value, especially even on this number line with the number 0. It's because it literally holds both positive and negatives together. Some of you all's value systems, your value system holds both the positive and the negative together. Some of you all have positive friends, negative friends. Your value system, as the 0 sitting smack dab in the center, in the middle, holds both together. Holds both together. The one that's on the negative side has no choice but to encounter the one on the other side of you in the positive, because you're that transference of the positive to the negative. And even if on the negative to the positive. You're that transference, but you decide which one, because you lay smack dab in the middle, the zero lies smack dab in the middle. You decide which one you're going to truly lean towards. Are you going to lean towards the friends that are more positive, that do your spirit good, or family members that do your spirit good, loved ones that do your spirit good? Or are you going to lean to the left in the negative, towards negative loved ones, family members, friends, associates, mindsets? It's not always about tangible things. A lot of these pros and cons, positives and negatives, lie within the four walls of our minds. We choose, such as this zero that is centered on the number line, we choose which direction we're going to go in and stay in. Because on either side it's infinite. I hope you all know that. On the number line, it's infinite, both in the positive and in the negative. That's why you see the arrows on the number line. You'll see the arrows pointing east, which can go on forever in infinity. And then you'll see the numbers on the west with an arrow at the tip, which signifies that those numbers, negative numbers, can go on for infinity. You just have to decide now. How are you going to place your zero? How are you going to place your value system? Not just on the number line, but the number line of life. The number line of logic. So what are you in the middle of, ladies and gentlemen? What are you holding together? What are you dividing? Ooh. You see, you can look at each one of those questions that I just asked, to be positive or negative. And if some of you all right now, when I pose those three questions, some of you all, your minds, your ways of thinking went immediately to the negative. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. We're all grown and some of us are young in here, but some of your minds immediately went to the negative when I asked, what are you in the middle of? Some of your minds went to, you're in the middle of chaos, you're in the middle of a quarrel, you're in the middle of loss, you're in the middle of lack. Oh, I'm gonna go here. You're in the middle of two women. Oh, you're in the middle of two men that honestly, you should be able to pick and choose a side because you shouldn't be with one or the other anyway. Yes. And some of you all's mind immediately went to the positive when I asked, what are you in the middle of? Some of y'all could be in the middle of your journey. You could be in the middle of your wilderness experience. You can be in the middle of going from sadness to happiness, because on both sides of the spectrum, you have sadness, you have happiness, okay? On both sides of the spectrum, you have lack and you have gain. So some of you all that may be in the middle, when I asked the question, what are you in the middle of? Some of your minds immediately went to the positive. Some of you all said to yourselves, man, I'm right in the middle. Thank God, that means I'm heading in the positive. I'm in the middle now. So I got another halfway's journey to go. Mentally, I'm in the middle of believing better for myself than I was when I was at the beginning. So some of you all, your minds went to the positive. When I asked, what are you holding together? Some of your minds immediately went to the negative. Some of your minds went to the positive. Some of you all are you're holding your faith. Oh my Lord, you're holding your faith together. You're holding your sanity together as best you can. When I ask, what are you dividing? Some of you all are dividing, okay, things that should not be together in the first place. Some of y'all are dividing things that should not be together in the first place. Faith and doubt. Truth and lies. Some of those things need to be divided so we can focus on which side. If I'm dividing truth from lies, then good. I just hope that if I'm on the positive side, I'm leaning more towards truth now. But if I'm on the negative side, I'm leaning more towards to lies now. So what are you dividing? Even within yourself, even within our own minds. As I've said again, our value system, or our zero system, is contingent upon whether we go in the direction of the positive or the negative. Because remember, the zero is neutral. Just like some of our value systems are neutral. Pick a side. Choose a side. Because it's of most importance. For as I said earlier, adding or subtracting zero from any number leaves that number unchanged. Adding or subtracting no values from any situation leaves that situation unchanged. Meaning you've added nothing. The zeros added nothing. Your value system has added nothing. Oh, but on the other side, ladies and gentlemen, adding or subtracting a whole number changes that number. Meaning you've added something. Adding your value system or adding a value system means that you've now added or you subtracted from that situation. Thus changing that situation, meaning you've added something, hopefully of positive note and of positive rapport to that something. So I'm going to pose this other question to you all for you to ponder over and to think over. What whole, when I say whole, not H-O-L-E, but what whole, W-H-O-L-E, whole, of course, meaning, complete, in full, but what whole version of yourself are you adding and subtracting? What whole version of yourself are you adding and subtracting? I could say what whole or what entire, complete, what full, what total version of yourself are you adding and subtracting? I love philosophy. I'm not saying I agree with all philosophy, but I remember reading once from a late philosopher making reference again to the number 0 and its association in the numbering system. This philosopher once said, you can't really have a 0 of things because the thing which is 0 doesn't really exist. In fact, if you do count things that don't really exist, you will have an infinite number of those things, since there is no limit to things that you can imagine existing. Oh man, I hope you all heard that. There is no limit to things that you can imagine existing. For it's one of my favorite quotes of all time from that great late scientist, mathematician Einstein, who said, imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, but imagination endless, infinite. Therefore, again, if you count things that don't really exist, you will have an infinite number of those things, since there is no limit to things that you can imagine existing. Many of you all and many of us, we tend to count, our fears that don't really exist. We tend to count our doubts, because of past experiences. Make no mistake, we experience certain things that prompt us to think certain things, but there has to be a divider. That 0 has to divide the negative from the positive, and then we have to decide which way we're going to lean on the number line. That's why imagination is unlimited. Knowledge is limited. And since we're talking about unlimited in the form of imagination, we made reference, to why imagination is infinite. Let's go back to the number 0, okay? That is symbolic not only of our value system, our belief system, and so forth. Because as we should know, and if we don't, let me kind of explain, from 0 to infinity, if you've ever heard that term, it has powerful significance. And you mathematicians, again, when you've heard the term or read the term or studied the term from 0 to infinity, it has powerful significance. And let me tell you what this powerful truth, principle implies. What it implies is when you talk about from 0 to infinity, you're encompassing all numbers. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. You're encompassing all numbers starting from 0 and continuing indefinitely. Just like I said and stated about the number line, whether going to the left of the 0 or to the right of the 0. To the left of the 0, infinitely, in the negative. To the right of the 0, infinitely to the positive. So when you hear the term or read the term from 0 to infinity, it's truth to that. There's principle to that. because it means that, we are encompassing all numbers starting from 0 and continuing indefinitely, which essentially, represents an unlimited range where the value can be any number, no matter how large, as long, listen to this though, ladies and gentlemen, as long as it is not smaller than 0. As long as it is not smaller than 0. Thus signifying a complete spectrum of values with no upper limit. Let me say that again. For once has it been spoken, twice told that it may be heard. The cause of this is infinite number from 0 to infinity. The cause of this signifies a complete spectrum of values. See how we went again from 0, the number 0, to our value system? And this number starting from 0 to infinity can go on forever as long as those numbers that come after 0 are not smaller than 0. My God. Thus signifying a complete spectrum of values. And please listen to this last part again. With no upper limit. Limitless. It continues. God created something. But if you really want to be technical with it, if we can put this in the mathematical equation, God created from nothing a something, all from eternity.
Or in the old Greek vernacular, ex nihilo, out of nothing.
Or if we put that into an equation, 0, ... 1, ... infinity, as we just touched on. With that phrase, from 0 to infinity. Or to be technical, when we talk about infinity or eternity, you're talking about forever with no limit, without end, everlasting, with no beginning nor an ending again. We have to remember 0 doesn't behave like the other numbers. Some of our values should not behave like other individuals who proclaim to have values or may have values, but each set of persons have their own sets of values, worth, usefulness. Some individuals' values are used to tear down. That's what they use them for. Some individuals' values are used to build up. So you have to ask yourself, what value system, what placement of value do you hold? So I'll say it again, adding zeros to any or to a whole number can make it significantly bigger. Adding your value system, your worth, to any situation, to any person, to any mindset, can make it significantly bigger. Our value system, like the 0 on the number line, if I can use this analogy, is like a rubber band. You stretch it to subtract, and you stretch it to add. Such is the same with our value system, our mindset, our worth. We can stretch that particular value system like a rubber band to subtract, or we can stretch it to add. We have that power depending on the placement, which we know on the number line is right smack dab in the middle, thus giving us the options to choose. 0 means there is nothing, but 1, a whole number, means there is something. And if we want to be honest, who counts nothing? As the old saying goes, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And nothing means something depending on where your value is placed, depending on where the 0 is placed, thus making 0, as that old phrase goes, to a hero. So when you think, when you say, when you believe, when you feel like nothing, you are embracing the number 0. Thus, you're embracing nothing. Your value system is null and void. Your belief system is null and void. When you think, when you say, when you believe, when you feel like something, you are then embracing the number one, a whole number, in front of the zero, thus embracing something. So this question, another question or a line or a series of questions, I want to ask you all and see if you can answer it within your own sphere of thinking as well as experience before I provide you with the answer. But let me ask you these series of questions, okay? Why do you love your mothers? Love your grandmothers, your fathers, grandfathers, family, or certain members, coaches, pastors, teachers, friends, pets. Why do you love your abilities, your talents, your gifts? Why do you love your confidence? So while you ponder on that for a couple seconds, I'm going to answer why I truly believe we love these things. Some of them I just mentioned. I know there's a plethora of more things we could actually add to the list. But I'm going to answer why we love these things, because we value them. That's why. We value them. We hold them in high esteem. Oh, but on the other side, I also believe it's because they value us. They value us. Our mothers, they value us. Grandfathers, coaches, pastors, friends, loved ones, significant others, kids, children, whomever, pets, and even your non-tangible things such as confidence. Your confidence values you. That's why you value it, because your confidence wants to be used by you to place it in the right places, to put it in the right positions, such as the number 0. Remember, it's all about the placement. It's all about the placement. So to answer those series of questions again, why we love these things is because we value them, and on the other side, it's because they value us. And even in spite of this value system, okay, these things that we love and why we love them, some of y'all are looking at your zeros or your perceived lack. Some of us, let me clarify, are looking at our zeros and our perceived lack in the wrong way. You see, if what we've been discussing this past hour, if and when we position our zeros in the right place, we then reveal a value not had before. So I'll say that again. If we position our zeros, our value system, in the right place, we then reveal a value not had before. Our whole number or whole self was placed, positioned, added before the 0. So I'll ask again, what are you placing yourself next to? What are you placing your 0 next to? Your value system, your beliefs next to. 4 ways, before we come to a close, 4 ways as the 0 to add value and place value or principles, importance and worth, usefulness to our lives. So I'll say that again. These are just 4 ways that we can add value to our lives. We can first reposition or position our gifts, talents, and thinking in the right place. Or to clarify, we can place our zeros, put our zeros in the right place. 2, we can magnify, add, increase, and multiply our zeros, our values. 3, keep our mind, such as the 0, in the middle. We can keep our mind centered, which also adds value to our life. 4, we can encompassing all that we started to an unlimited range of infinite possibilities. That 4th one can pretty much trump all the previous 3, though all 3 hold value in how we can really add sustainable value to our lives. And even going back to number 2, I say again, for once has it been spoken, twice told, that it may be heard. We can magnify, add, increase, multiply our zeros, which I failed to mention the first time, with whole numbers. You can't multiply or magnify your zeros without any association of a whole number and the right placement of that whole number. These are all references to that powerful number that was not held in high esteem from one culture, but held in high esteem in another culture, thus making the zero possible to this day. In parting, I want to leave you all with this. As I want to expound on how we see a thing, such as how the zero was seen and still is seen in some areas, and how it is seen in other areas. Remember, we are the zero in the middle of the positive and of the negative. We are the center, which means we decide how we perceive a thing, how we see a thing, how we view a thing, how we value a thing. So I'll leave you with this. How you perceive a thing is how you will see a thing. How you see a thing is how you will believe a thing. How you believe a thing is how you will trust a thing. How you trust a thing is how you will hold a thing. How you hold a thing is how you will value a thing. And how you value a thing is how you will honor, protect, and love a thing.
And for this reason, I honor the zero. Because if I put 1 0 on top of the other 0, I now have the number 8. Thus interlocking the 2 zeros. Oh, but on top of that, because I value the 0, if I turn those 2 zeros interlocked together, creating the number 8, but then turn that number 8 sideways, now I have infinity. Thus the term from 0 to infinity.
And though some of us are still walking around like zeros, not knowing where to place ourselves, where to place our talents, our giftings, our values, our beliefs, our faiths, our heart, our thoughts, because we don't know the value we add, I recommend that we try placing and positioning ourselves behind and after the one. I'll say that again. For once has it been spoken, twice told, that it may be heard. Because we don't know the value we add, I recommend that we try placing and positioning ourselves behind and after the one. And in doing this, we will truly find our place after the one. Those of you who are a peculiar people will catch the reference of positioning yourself, placing yourself behind the one who's the most valuable in the numbering system. I want to thank you all again for allowing me, little old me, to invade your space.
Not all who wander are lost.